Anyways, speaking of which, Visual Adventures uploaded a video, and you know for a fact, I've been kind of liking his videos, to be frankly honest. So why not let's watch something a little bit like kind of, I guess it's kind of a bit educational, but kind of a little bit like, you know, entertainment format, you know? At the end of the day, I'm more of a, I like those kinds of videos to watch when it's like educational type of videos, you know? I don't know, it's kind of my personal you know, interest, but apparently there's this one video that says disturbing events that almost ended humanity. I'm super curious what that actually means. What did you guys do and almost kill your entire population? I'd be curious.
You had
Let me see. Show me.
friends who were building safe spaces for nuclear fallout in their backyards. They were stockpiling rations. They were stockpiling water.
Y2K is the first end-of-the-world prophecy in history where something...
Oh my god, Y2K is a... I never thought I would hear that ever again, to be honest. Didn't we get like similar shit later down the line or so and nothing has happened? Didn't they say that the world was going to end last year or something on Christmas Day from that one guy from Africa or something? Because he was like building Noah's Ark and everything.
will definitely happen on the predicted date, and you don't have to have religion to believe.
Up to maybe 60 to 70% of the population died, which is massive. It's absolutely bonkers.
The
Black
Soviet
Plague.
colonel who famously saved the world from nuclear war has passed away.
Hollywood movies about the end of the world sometimes aren't fiction. Humanity has come close to extinction many times, and most people have no idea. In this video, we'll explore disturbing events that almost ended humanity. From deadly plagues to malfunctioning weapons,
Black
we'll
Plague.
relive all the terrifying moments that nearly
That's gonna
wiped
be
us
one of
out.
them.
So, I want to thank you guys because we
remember
hit
learning about
1.5 million subscribers. The new goal is 2.5 million by the end of 2026. It is an absolutely crazy goal, so it would mean the world if you subscribe, and I will do my very best to put out the best videos I possibly can for you. I'm Visual Venture, and you are awesome. The day the world almost exploded.
Eh?
In 1961, the world nearly ended because a secret military operation went wrong. The operation was meant to keep people safe, but when it backfired, it almost caused the disaster it was meant to prevent.
Midway through the 20th century, two superpowers prepared for a conflict which might have ended life on the planet.
Here's how it happened. In the 1950s, tension was growing between two global powers, the United States and the Soviet
I already
Union.
know
Each
about
side
this.
feared the other would strike first. To intimidate one another, both nations built extremely powerful nuclear weapons. But instead of creating peace, those weapons created paranoia. American leaders feared a surprise attack at any moment. They wanted a way to respond instantly if war broke out. So the military came up with a way to stay prepared at all times. But it was a dangerous plan. They decided to put nuclear bombs on planes and keep those planes flying 24 hours a day.
America had a dozen B-52
That totally is never going to end wrong in any type of situation whatsoever, you know? Oh yeah, it totally isn't. Okay.
in the air at all times, ready to strike the Soviet Union at a moment's notice.
If war started, the bombers would already be in the air. All they would need was the order to attack. The planes could even refuel mid-air, allowing them to stay
remember
airborne
this.
for hours. But this strategy came with a huge risk. If one of those planes crashed, the nuclear bombs would crash with it, and that would be devastating.
Yep.
In 1961, that nightmare scenario became real. On January 24th that year, a plane took off from an Air Force base in North Carolina. It was carrying 2 nuclear bombs. Each one had the explosive power of 3.8 million tons of dynamite. The flight
That's a lot of TNT, man. I can see the Minecraft world fucking lagging in a second.
began without trouble. Then the crew noticed a serious issue.
They had this huge fuel leak. They lost 19 tons of fuel in 2 minutes. Something was really bad wrong with that thing.
Fuel was pouring out of the plane. Without fuel, the aircraft would fall from the sky. And with 2 nuclear bombs on board, a crash would be catastrophic.
The plane was ordered to return to Seymour Johnson for an emergency landing. When the aircraft had descended to about 10,000 feet, the pilots were unable to control it in steady flight.
The pilot flew as fast as he could, but it wasn't fast enough. The fuel ran out before they could reach the base. The crew tried to eject. 5 escaped, two didn't make it. As the plane fell, it began to break apart mid-air. Both nuclear bombs separated from the aircraft.
The bad news was there were 2 nuclear bombs aboard that plane that were blown out of the bomb bay as if they were launched in an attack.
Luckily, both nukes were fitted with parachutes. One nuke drifted down and became tangled in a tree in North Carolina.
Smart idea, whoever decided to put fucking parachutes on the goddamn fucking nukes. Whoever thought of that, my lord, dude, you are a smart individual and you just saved a bunch of people.
There was explosive power greater than all the bombs ever used on this planet hanging from the trees in Pharaoh.
The bomb squad arrived and secured the weapon. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But there was still one more bomb missing. The second bomb was not as lucky. Its parachute failed to open. The bomb slammed into the ground at full speed. By some miracle, it didn't explode. That was because the impact damaged key internal parts and stopped it from detonating. But
talk about luck of the draw, dude. Holy shit, man. That is a crazy thing to see. That I've only seen that in cartoons, but I've never saw that in real life, where a nuke doesn't go off the moment it taps the tip of the fucking missile.
that didn't mean the threat was over. The bomb penetrated the ground and was stuck underground. The military rushed to try to get it out.
We started digging first with shovels and then realized this thing is going way, way deep. Shovels aren't going to cut it.
More crews arrived with heavy equipment. They dug until they finally reached the weapon. Their first priority was to check whether it was armed.
He calls up from out of the hole. He says, "Hey, Lieutenant, I just found the arm safe switch." I said, "Good." He says, "No, not good. It's on arm."
When the nuke fell, it began its detonation sequence. Almost everything required for an explosion was already activated, except for one switch. If that switch flipped, a nuclear explosion would have happened right there in North Carolina. Eventually, the military recovered much of the weapon. However, some portions of the weapon containing uranium were left in the ground. They were buried too deep to be removed safely. To prevent anyone from digging it up, the government purchased part of the site. It was a close call. If either bomb exploded, millions of lives would have been lost. Even worse, the blast might have been mistaken for an enemy attack. US leaders might have responded by launching nukes at the perceived enemy. The other side would have responded the same way. That chain reaction could have triggered a global nuclear war. And that
Jesus Christ, man. Holy holy fuck. Wow, that is a thing. That is a thing that happened, all right? Damn, that is a crazy thing.
That could have caused a worldwide catastrophe. But life went on, and most people never knew how close we came.
So what you're telling me is that the US could have been a fallout situation. It could have been a fallout situation.
To the end of humanity.
That's crazy.
This next event wiped out entire cities off the map, and it was invisible. The illness that wiped out a continent. You've heard about many different deadly diseases, but the bubonic plague was on a different level. Eventually, people started calling it the Black Death because once someone caught it, they were as good as gone. The outbreak was so severe that many believed the end of the world had arrived. To understand how one infection nearly destroyed humanity, we need to go back to where it began. In the 1300s, ships were the main way people traveled and traded. When a ship arrived at the port, it usually meant something good was coming. But in October 1347, 12 trading ships arrived in Sicily, and they were carrying death. When inspectors boarded the ships, they found bodies everywhere. The few sailors still alive could barely move. They were infected with a strange disease from another part of the world, and now they brought it to Italy. That illness had many names, but most people called it the bubonic plague. Authorities tried to stop the spread by isolating the sick sailors, but the sailors weren't the real threat. The ships were full of rats, and those rats carried infected fleas.
The bubonic plague is spread by infected fleas that live on the backs of rats. The rats stow away on ships and live within close proximity to humans.
The rats left the ships and entered the city. From there, the disease spread fast. Some were infected through flea bites. Others caught it after touching someone who was infected.
Once it kind of gets into you, you can spread it to other people.
This wasn't a regular illness. About 60% of infected people passed away. That meant for every 10 people who got sick, only 4 survived.
Up to maybe 60 to 70% of the population died, which is massive. It's absolutely bonkers.
Doctors rushed to find a cure, but they didn't even understand the disease.
What also aided in the transmission of the disease was the lack of medical knowledge. For most of human history, the cause of illnesses, germs, was unknown.
Still, people refused to give up. They tried everything to survive. For instance, many believed the plague was a punishment from God. They tried to earn forgiveness. Groups of people whipped themselves in public, marching from town to town. They believed self-punishment would bring mercy. Eventually, so many people joined.
That's what I'm saying specifically. Religion is a mistake, in my personal opinion. Just because people went a little bit too crazy, you know. They're just some of those people that take religion a little too fucking far. I'm gonna be honest with you. They take it a little too far. That's why I say sometimes religion is a mistake. Sometimes.
These rituals that the Pope had to order them to stop. Another story began spreading around that time. It was about 4 thieves who robbed the homes of the sick. Somehow they were able to get near the infected without catching the disease. The thieves claimed they protected themselves by drinking vinegar mixed with herbs. They also rubbed the mixture on their skin. The thieves were eventually caught, and legend says they traded the recipe in exchange for mercy. That mixture became known as 4 thieves vinegar. At one point, people even believed money carried the disease, so they began washing money with vinegar. But none of these
I ain't gonna lie, man. Those times were crazy. I will be honest with you. Those were some wild times. It was like earlier than the Wild West.
remedies worked. The plague continued to spread.
The plague exploded all across Italy and quickly spread along trade routes across the entire Mediterranean and Europe.
Entire villages were wiped out. Thousands of farmers passed away. With no one left to work the fields, crops were never harvested. Food began to run out. So even people who avoided the plague ended up starving. The plague returned again and again over many years. Graves went from hundreds to thousands to millions. Doctors never stopped trying to find a cure, but they needed to protect themselves while treating patients. So during later plague outbreaks, doctors wore long cloaks and bird-like masks. They even stuffed herbs inside the masks to protect them from breathing in the disease. Over time, doctors noticed something important: isolating the sick.
Basically, it's the early day of the hazmat suit, basically. What they have now, the more modern one. This is the early version. This is like the super early prototype version of it, basically. That's pretty cool, though.
Slowed the plague down. Quarantine became the only effective means of stopping the spread of the plague.
Authorities in Italy declared that every person with plague be taken out of the city into the fields to die or to recover.
And as they did that, the plague subsided. When it was over, Europe felt hollow.
The BBC says an estimated 25 million people, over a third of Europe's population, succumbed to the plague.
It took centuries for doctors to fully understand what caused the plague.
In 1894, scientists discovered the bacteria behind the plague outbreaks.
That discovery changed the world. It helped shape modern medicine and public health.
Why was the Black Death so deadly? Great question. Basically because there's no antibiotics.
Yeah, there was no.
That's it.
The plague showed no mercy. If it kept spreading at the same rate for a few more years, humanity might not have survived. This next story reveals how technology almost destroyed life as we know it. The countdown to doomsday.
Is this the one that I think this is?
December 31st, 1999 was more than New Year's Eve.
It is.
To many people, it was the day modern civilization would collapse.
Elevators may stop. Heat may vanish.
I remember this.
Credit cards and ATMs may cease to function.
People were panicking, but they were also preparing. Families stocked up on canned food. Others hid in underground shelters. Some even bought firearms for protection. It was the most anxious night in modern history. And it was all because of a computer glitch called the Y2K bug. In the 1970s, computers were very different from what we have today. They were huge, slow, and extremely expensive. One of the highest costs was storage. At the time, data storage in computers was expensive and took a lot of space. To save money, programmers made a decision. Computers would only store the last 2 digits of each year.
Programmers only used 2 digits for 2 reasons. One, they didn't have a lot of memory space for their programs. And secondly, they never imagined their software would last as long as it did.
So the year 1975 was stored as 75. 1989 became 89. For decades, this caused no problems, and society became dependent on computers. Hospitals used computers to monitor patients. Power plants relied on them to generate electricity. Planes depended on software to fly. Even nuclear weapons contained millions of lines of computer code. Simply put, computers ran the world. Then in the early 1990s, someone asked a shocking question.
So why use 4 numbers when you only need 2? And then they recognize What date is a computer going to think it is when we get to 2000?
The answer was alarming. Computers would record the year 2000 as 00. But to a computer, 00 also meant 1900. That meant time would jump backwards by 100 years. And that jump would make millions of computers glitch and crash all at once. The potential damage could be catastrophic. Most people had no idea this problem existed. Then in 1993, a software expert published an article warning about the glitch. People read it and panicked. The media amplified the fear.
Oh my lord, of course. Of course. This is so this is how it all started. Okay. All right.
The federal government is comparing Y2K to a huge natural disaster, like an earthquake, a hurricane, or a tornado.
Hollywood released movies depicting worst-case scenarios.
Y2K, the movie.
There was even a documentary titled Y2K Family Survival Guide. People became convinced the end was near, so they prepared in very different ways.
I remember
Some got protection.
all of this.
I've got a revolver right now, but I want something more.
Others bought enough food to last a year. Religious groups prayed for God's mercy. Even business owners saw an opportunity to profit.
Call now and order your ultimate Y2K survival kit.
But while the world...
I remember that. I fucking remember that too as well.
panicked, programmers were trying to solve the problem. Every 2-digit year had to be found and rewritten, and it all had to be done before midnight on December 31st, 1999. It was a race against time. Soon, that day was here. December 31st, 1999. Governments around the world were on high alert.
You've got representatives of all the government departments here, and they're waiting anxiously. The Department of Health, the DTI, the Treasury, all that kind of thing.
Families stayed home waiting.
Fears of the Y2K bug are keeping many people grounded, and most say they'll settle for being close to home with family and friends.
Eventually, midnight arrived, and the world didn't end.
What happened when the clock struck midnight on January 1st, 2000? Everything actually turned out to be just fine.
But this was not luck. During the 2 years leading up to Y2K, IT professionals spent an average of 70 hours a week rewriting code. It cost between $300 to $600 billion to fix potential problems. But their hard work paid off. Planes kept flying, banks stayed open, hospitals kept running, and the Y2K bug did not destroy the world. This next chapter was undoubtedly the deadliest conflict in human history. The war that almost ended civilization.
Is this one?
A world war is exactly what it sounds like. It's a time when countries in nearly every part of the world are pulled into fighting. So far, it's happened twice. Both times, the destruction was massive. Engineers invented new weapons. Scientists created deadly poisons. Spies were sent behind enemy lines. As bodies piled up, it felt like humanity might destroy itself. During the First World War, more than 15 million lives were lost.
The First World War became what we would call a total war. These nations pitted against each other, millions of men fighting on land, on the sea, in the air.
However, it was the Second World War that almost destroyed civilization. By the time it ended, it wiped out roughly 3% of the world's population, but it could have been much more. It began when Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany. He wanted to dominate the world,
declaring that the Germans were a superior race that needed living space. Lebensraum. Hitler began to rebuild the German military.
German forces invaded nearby countries. Other nations tried to stop him. Soon it became a global conflict. Millions of innocent people were taken to prison camps. Food became scarce. Civilians lived in constant fear. As the war dragged on, many believed the only way to stop it was to remove the man at the center of it all. People around the world planned ways to assassinate Adolf Hitler, but somehow he kept surviving. One attempt happened in Munich. Hitler was scheduled to give a speech. Before the event, a man planted an explosive device near the stage. He timed it to go off while Hitler was speaking, but Hitler left the building a few minutes early. By the time the explosion occurred, he was long gone. Another time, even Hitler's own officers tried to end him. The most serious attempt happened in July 19...
Really? So his own officers tried to end his life specifically. I didn't know about this one. That's very well, I'm not surprised. I'm not really surprised, because at the end of the day, that's also been recorded throughout history in general, where people who are in the same alliance or so would betray the leader and try to take out the leader if they have gone mad and everything. That's a thing that's also pretty popular in the Void too as well. We shut that down pretty much immediately.
1944. A German officer carried a briefcase into a meeting with Hitler. Inside was a bomb.
He placed a briefcase with an explosive device next to Hitler and left.
Hitler and his generals were in the room unaware of the danger. Minutes later, the device went off. Several people lost their lives, but Hitler survived. Again.
A heavy oak table shielded Hitler at the moment of the explosion.
After the incident, Hitler became paranoid. He ordered mass arrests. Around 5,000 people suspected of plotting against him were arrested. In total, there were at least 42 attempts involving poisons, snipers, and bombs. Each one failed. Eventually, Hitler convinced himself that he was protected by fate. That confidence made him careless, and he made terrible decisions. By 1945, Germany was defeated.
So his ego got inflated or so because of that. I see. So that's what his downfall began.
But in the Pacific, the war was still raging. Then the deadliest strike of the conflict occurred. In August 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on Japan. A witness described the blast as something out of hell.
The flash radiation of heat from the blast scorched hillsides as far as 8,000 feet away from ground zero.
And you want to know something? The joke about this too in general, many millennia later, they do this meme or so, right? Before World War II, serious Japanese manly men, you know? After World War II, kawaii Japanese pop girls and like anime and the most kawaii shit ever. So that's the meme they always use every single time. They say, literally one of the comment sections that they say, hey, without the US dropping a bomb on Japan, we would not have anime. I'm just like, oh my god. I was like, oh my god. These people are crazy.
The war ended before more nukes could be used because experts warned that a nuclear war would lead to the total extinction of human civilization. World War II lasted 6 years. By the end, the world was in ruins. 60 million lives were lost.
It's crazy that the US, like, you know, they were just like basically minding their own business, right? And then the Japan attacked America on Pearl Harbor on that specific day, and they angered the most scariest monster on the fucking planet during that specific time frame. They literally did. They were like, the US is a bear. They were just minding their own business. Japan, the small little like rabbit or so, right? They're basically a fucking rabbit compared to the US in general, right? They literally disturbed the most disturbing monster who was slumbering on the planet, and they said, oh, you wanna fuck with us now? Okay, bet. Watch this, bitches. They literally straight up manhandled Japan, like no joke. Honestly, I'll be frankly honest with you, this is pretty much what it gave. What was it? Let's see. What was it? It's basically this Jujutsu Kaisen meme or so from the slapping or so. I forgot the name. Let's see. The fucking meme in general. It's literally straight up this shit. Like straight up, no joke. That's basically what they did in general. They actually did that, dude.
Nothing since has reached that level of destruction. This next chapter explores a devastating natural disaster you probably never heard of. The year the sun disappeared. Volcanoes erupt all the time, and most people barely notice. But in 1815, one blast was so powerful it nearly ended the world. It didn't just destroy land, it poisoned the sky. The sun disappeared, crops failed, and the earth began to freeze. For an entire year, many were sure the end was here. The story begins on the island of Sumbawa in present-day Indonesia. The people there were farmers and fishermen. Their lives depended on sunlight, rain, and healthy crops. At the center of the island stood Mount Tambora. For generations, the mountain...
I think I've read a little bit about this, but I don't know too much about this, though. It was very little.
Was quiet.
Prior to Mount Tambora blowing its top, no one even realized that it was a volcano.
People were so comfortable that they built villages around it. Children grew up playing on the slopes.
That's crazy.
But deep inside the mountain, pressure was growing. By 1815, Tambora could no longer hold it in. It erupted. Hot lava spewed from the volcano.
The blast caused earthquakes, tsunamis, and pyroclastic flows that decimated the land and took tens of thousands of Indonesian lives.
Witnesses described the eruption as a flowing mass bursts of liquid fire. Thousands of lives were lost, nearby villages were destroyed, but this local destruction wasn't what nearly ended humanity. The real danger was invisible. Mount Tambora's eruption polluted the sky.
The eruption spewed an unimaginable volume of ash and tens of millions of tons of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere.
The ash and sulfur.
This is pretty much almost the same thing. I think it happened during what was it, during the Greek era or something like that? During that specific eras, but in general there was something that happened similar to this.
Gases were so high that rain couldn't wash them away.
The ash cloud generated by the volcano made its way to the stratosphere, reflecting incoming sunlight and cooling the Earth.
Those particles spread and blocked substantial amounts of sunlight from reaching Earth's surface. Less sunlight meant less heat. Slowly, the planet began to cool. At first, people only noticed colder days, but within months, it became clear something was very wrong, because the weather stopped making sense. 1816 became known as the year without a summer, because that year the seasons were unpredictable. Snow fell in June, the frost destroyed crops in July. By August, the fields were frozen, and there was no summer that year.
Europe, China, and even North America all experienced below average temperatures that year, and entire harvests were ruined.
Food shortages spread across the world. People went hungry. In some areas, riots even broke out. In Asia, heavy rains caused floods. And in India, new diseases began to spread. It was chaos. All because one volcano erupted. Thankfully, the effects didn't last forever. Over time, the ash and sulfur slowly fell back to Earth. Sunlight returned, temperatures slowly rose. By 1818, the seasons were acting normally again. Crops grew back and foods returned. Against the odds, humanity survived. This next chapter is about a man who had a...
Did it actually spread across the entire world? I feel like that can't be true, right? Is that actually true? You guys can probably let me know on that specific. I don't think that it would have to be a megaton volcano to like literally do that throughout the entire world, to be honest. But you guys don't have a megaton volcano to do that kind of power. I don't think so, unless this was a megaton volcano, but I just feel like it wasn't really, because usually volcanoes aren't like, they're pretty big, but they're not that fucking massive to the point that it can cover the entire world, question mark?
50-50 chance of saving the world, and he guessed right. How one man saved the world. In most jobs, making mistakes can get someone fired. At worst, a company loses money. But in September 1983, one man was tempted to make a mistake at work. And if he did, the world would have gone up in flames. Literally. His name was Stanislav Petrov. He was a lieutenant colonel working in a Soviet military command center. His job was to monitor an early missile warning system. The system scanned the skies for missiles heading toward the Soviet Union. If it detected an attack, Petrov had to immediately report it to his superiors. Soviet leaders would then decide whether to fire their own nuclear weapons at the enemy. Petrov's job was crucial. If a real attack happened and he didn't report it, millions could die. If he treated a false alarm as real, the result could be the same. On September 26, 1983, Petrov arrived for a shift like any other day. He sat at his console and reviewed some files. Suddenly, the alarms went off. The system detected a missile launch.
The siren sounded very loudly, and I just sat there for a few seconds, staring at the screen with the word launch displayed in bold red letters.
Petrov checked the screen. It showed 5 missiles heading toward the Soviet Union. Petrov knew the procedure. He was supposed to report the alert immediately, but he didn't. He kept staring at the screen and started thinking, why only 5 missiles? A real nuclear strike would begin with hundreds. It would be designed to destroy the country in one massive hit. Petrov also knew the missile warning system was not 100% foolproof. It could potentially have an error.
He had a choice to make. Should he pick up the phone and advise a retaliation strike against the United States? He doesn't have much time to make a decision.
Petrov felt he needed more information. He remembered that ground-based radar could confirm incoming missiles. He checked the radar reports. It showed no missiles. At that point, Petrov had only seconds to make a decision. If he reported the attack as real and it wasn't, the Soviet Union might launch its own missiles. The United States would retaliate, and the world could end in a nuclear war. Petrov made his choice.
And then I made my decision. I would not trust the computer. I picked up the telephone handset, spoke to my superiors, and reported that the alarm was false.
After reporting that the system was giving false information, Petrov waited. If he was wrong, he would know soon. A nuclear strike would hit within minutes. 23 minutes later, nothing had happened. The early missile warning system was wrong. Those 5 missiles didn't exist. Later, investigations revealed the false alert was caused by a malfunction of the satellite. The satellite mistook sunlight reflecting off the clouds for missiles. Petrov's commanders never rewarded him for saving the world from nuclear war. For years, no one outside the military even knew what happened. Almost a decade later, a former commander revealed the story in an interview.
Wow.
Western media picked it up and reporters began searching for Petrov. By then, he was an old man living in a small apartment. Before long, he became known as the man who saved the world.
Petrov received hundreds of letters of recognition from all over Europe, but he never understood why. He said he had just been doing his job.
Hollywood made films and documentaries about him. He received an award at the United Nations. He was celebrated as a hero until his last breath.
The Soviet colonel who famously saved the world from nuclear war has passed away.
The scariest part about these near extinction events is that most people have no idea how close we came to the end. We walk through life thinking we're safe, but the truth is we are more fragile than we think. So my friends, be grateful for everything you have today, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Visual Venture. Wait, before you go, make sure you guys watch my video about evil human experiments that actually happened. I talk about
crazy. Good video though, honestly. Great channel, great channel. Take care, Winter. Be safe, be safe. Imagine you have that pressure of a decision. Yeah, that's true. Especially if the computer is not 100% accurate at all and there's actually flaws in it. Yeah. It'd be like, oh shit, man. Oh god, it's blip. I'm getting like a radar, so it's blipping and blipping, telling me there's missiles coming. But then it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. Should I believe it? Should I not believe it? You know? God damn it. So many times there could have been a fallout, literally straight up. And if that happened or so, we would never have GTA 6. If that happened, we would never have GTA 6, and it would never come out, you know? Especially during that time when computers first started gaining momentum. Oh yeah, they were definitely not reliable back then. 100%. The technology was super early stages in its development. It's like pretty alpha-ish. So that is pretty funny in general though. Great video though, honestly.